Before we begin, I would like to invite on stage Mrs. Yara Asmar. Yara, أنت هون. Yara is the senior project manager at Friedrich Naumann Foundation, and she will tell us a little bit about the foundation and their goals.
Hi, good evening. اسمي يارا أسمر. I'm the senior project manager at Friedrich Naumann Foundation. It's a German political foundation, but ما تخافوا من كلمة political. It's not political the Lebanese way, it's the German way. We are an interactive platform for innovators in the fields of entrepreneurship, in the fields of politics, and in the field of academia and social sciences. اللي قررنا انه نحن نعمل هيدا الانيشيتيف ونطلب اللايسنس تبع FuckUp Nights كرمال لبنان، لانه لقينا انه most of the events اللي بنروح عليها related to entrepreneurship it's more related to stories of success. يعني عملت هيك وصلت لهون نجحت صار معي $1,000,000. بس in fact هو تعمل توصل من A ل B يمكن وقع شي 300 مرة، يمكن صار معه بريك داون شي 700 مرة، يمكن خسر شي $20,000 كل مرة قرر انه يطلع للدرجة. ف hopefully you will enjoy it. We have really good speakers tonight. I would like to thank my biggest fuck up اللي هو نديم يلي نديم أبو علي who recently joined the foundation and this is technically his first event. So بدي أطلب منكم بس تسقفوا له لأنه he did a great job. But still إنه تعرفوا بالذات المكتب مع نديم مش هين فمشان هيك he's my biggest fuck up.
This was my fuck up.
Okay, that was just fuck up. Thank you for coming, and I would like also to thank Foundersbei وخصوصا إلياس كان معي بالمدرسة. أنا وإلياس معلمين بذات المدرسة and it feels really weird هلا إنه عم أقدم حدا كان معي بالمدرسة. So إلياس, please introduce us to Foundersbei.
Hi everyone, welcome to Foundersbei. Thank you FNF OG for organizing this event. Thank you for the speakers for joining us on this night. Choosing Foundersbei was not random at all. At Foundersbei we believe in failing forward. We believe in sharing experiences and learning from past mistakes. عم نجرب نخلق collaborative community at Foundersbei. وقت اللي اجوا عندنا FNF قالوا لنا بدي يعملوا ايفنت we were more than excited to do it at Foundersbei. So please كمان I know you're all here for the free pizza and free beers ما تنسوا it's in the kitchen. Have a great night and enjoy the time.
Nothing is free, there's a catch, and the catch is that you have to listen to earn your pizza and beer. Well, the beer I think you can go grab some so you can make chill while you're listening to our speakers tonight. So our first speaker is Paul Sauber. He's the co-founder and CEO at ETOP. ETOP was one of the very first platforms in the region to try to democratize the process of speaking to doctors and trying to get actual advice from doctors online, which is not something easy to do yet, even around the world. It's not something that's easily accessible. I met them a few years back when they started in Sequence, which was the first accelerator in Lebanon. حدا سمع بSequence? Do we have any Sequence? It's the first generation of entrepreneurs in the country. Well, the new age entrepreneurs is a little. So, Paul, share your fuck up.
Hello everyone, like I said, I'm Paul. I'm one of the co-founders of ETOP. So we created ETOP in around 2012 to connect doctors and patients online in Lebanon. First, let me just give you some background on myself. I grew up in Saudi. I was in the French school in Jeddah. I actually met someone today who was responsible for our library when I was 11 years old. And I then moved to AUB. I got my bachelor in business administration. And even back then, I was constantly thinking, I want to start my own company. I didn't know what it meant back then. But that's what I wanted to do. I was passionate about that. I graduated. I found a very tough time to find a job. It took me like 8 months to find a job. I landed a job at PwC, where I stayed for a year. I got promoted in a year, which was amazing, but that was when I submitted my resignation. The reason behind that is I saw ads about Sequence on Facebook, and they were looking for founders to start their own company, and they would give us $76,000 in investment, which sounded amazing. And when I got accepted, I went into Sequence and started my journey for YouTube. So let me start with fuck-ups number 1 and 2. So while applying for YouTube, I was sitting with my girlfriend, now ex-girlfriend, at home, and we were brainstorming about ideas to apply to that accelerator program, which was one of the first in Lebanon. And during that time, she had some back pain and some chest pain, and we didn't know what it was, and we didn't know which specialist to contact. So she came up with the idea, why not do something around healthcare? And we applied, and we got in the program. So the first fuck up is, if you're not passionate about what you're going to spend like 24 hours a day working on, do not work on it. So I'm not someone who knows anything about healthcare, and at the same time, I'm not passionate about healthcare. I know it's important to each one of us, but I'm not passionate about it. And that created a lot of issues going forward in the 4.5 years that I worked on each. The second fuck up is basically try not to start a company with your girlfriend. So, a lot of issues come up, so you cannot divide between your personal time or the time you spend at work. For example, Sarah can contact Dr. Karam to answer this question, or because there's that appointment. So a lot of fights, a lot of issues come up from work and after work. Fuck up number 3. So we were very excited that we got into Sequence Accelerator, and it turns out that the term sheet we signed was one of the worst term sheets that you can ever see, and I'm willing to bet on that. Basically, it wasn't $76,000, it was half in cash, half in kind. The in-kind part was office space for 3 months, which is $35,000. I don't know for 3 months what office is that. Like, if you want to take the other terms in the agreement, you had, for example, a 30% stake for Sequence and non-dilution in the following round. If you're not aware of non-dilution, it's once you get another round after the first one, the shares you give to the new investors will only reduce your own shares and not Sequence's shares. And that created a lot of issues. 3, like I can think of 2 or 3 right now. The first one is lower motivation for the entire founding team. They have less incentive to work on the startup because after the 3rd round, each one of us had very small equity in the firm. The second thing is it creates a lot of issues when you're trying to raise a round with new investors. So they're aware that your incentive will go down as your shares are going down, and it makes all of the negotiations a lot harder. So that's the second fuck up. The third fuck up was try to choose your team wisely. We were 4 co-founders. It was the first time any one of us had started a company or knew what it was. I remember in 2011, it was the first time I heard the term startup, and we didn't know what it was back then. And to have 4 founders, and the eldest is like 23 years old, with no experience whatsoever, that was a big problem. Not that you cannot start a company when you're young, you can, and it can work out, but it's very difficult to do so. We had a lot of good elements in the team, but we didn't have a comprehensive, or let's say, a well-rounded number of skill sets that are required to build a startup. 4, has to do mainly with underestimating the time required to get some funding and underestimating the delays you get because of all the regulatory hurdles in Lebanon. So even if you want to apply for a bank account for a new company, it takes a lot of time. For the funding, during our first round, it took us a year to actually close that round after we had signatures to our term sheets from 7 different investors. So we had to find the investors, convince them of the startup, sign the term sheets with them, and negotiate the terms with them. After we did all of that, it took us a year to actually get the money because of all of the legal paperwork that needed to be done. And during that time, you're just delaying a lot of features, you're delaying hiring people, you're delaying a lot of other things just because you don't have money. We maxed out our credit cards, I had to handle several freelancing projects to pay back these credit cards, and it created a lot of issues. So a startup by itself is very risky. So imagine also having to deal with all of that and pushing and delaying a lot of things. Plus you have the team's motivation that is going down during that time. So it created a lot of issues. Fuck up number 5. We were bought into this entire startup buzz where every single conference about startups we used to go, at that conference, Paul is a speaker, at that conference, John is a speaker, try to get as much exposure as possible to that ecosystem. And I think this is utter bullshit. Whichever event you go to a startup event, it's either to get investors, but you can meet them elsewhere, and it's a huge waste of time. Instead, what we should have done is go to conferences where you can actually find doctors and get them signed on the platform, get some other partners, get some clients, and something that would actually be beneficial to the business rather than just go and feed into that startup buzz that you have, especially in Lebanon. So you have people, all they do in this startup scene is just go from one event to the other without ever accomplishing anything. Fuck up number 5 or 6? 6. Oh, good, you're listening. So fuck up number 6. It has to do mainly with trying to build a perfect product early on. So we had this amazing product in mind, and we weren't willing to launch anything before we had a lot of these features developed. And it took us a lot of time to actually publish our second version, because the first one, the good thing about Sequence is that it pushed us to actually launch within 3 months. But the bad thing is that after we left from Sequence, nobody was directing us, no, you're taking too much time to launch this feature or that product, and you don't need it to be that perfect. And we wasted a lot of time, while we should have focused more on how are we going to make money, how are we going to sustain ourselves. Number 6 or 7? 7. So fuck up number 7. Fuck up number 7 is mainly related to not pivoting early enough. So we launched initially ETOP as a Q&A platform. We had doctors answering questions asked by different users, mainly in Lebanon and the region. So we were thinking, okay, how can we monetize that? Maybe you can put some premium features where people pay $6, they can attach some medical records, they can attach pictures, and they get a more detailed answer from the doctor. But to do that, what is $6 going to do to you unless you have critical mass? And to be able to have critical mass and traction, what you need is to pour in a lot of money on marketing and advertising online, which we didn't have. So it turns out, like after 3 months of launching this feature, we only had like 20, 50 maximum questions, paid questions per month. Okay, that's pivot. We started approaching insurance companies and other companies that are interested in healthcare, reaching out to patients and doctors, and they started putting ads on our website. But for that, you also need to play this spread game where you're paying for a lot of ads and you're also getting money for ads, and this spread between what you're paying for and what you're getting is very minimal. So you need at least millions of page views per month to be able to actually monetize that. After that didn't work out, we thought, okay, so how can we get actual recurring paid revenues? So we reached out, we came up with this idea, and I think it's still a great idea, where we approached insurance companies. And we offered them some value-added services to their health policy holders. One of these services is connecting their claims database to our service, to ETO, where one of their health policy holders would come into ETO and look at his entire medical history and the dates he actually was admitted to the hospital, what was the diagnosis, what were the symptoms.
We have like 1 minute left.
1 minute left. And we actually signed a deal with one of the biggest insurers in Lebanon, and he pulled back the same month we were launching. So we worked on these features for a year, and then they pulled back the last month. And that's where I said to myself, because I'm not passionate about healthcare, I have to stop. So, 1 minute you said? Okay, so 2 last fuck-ups. The first one is, it has to do with when we got admitted to 500 startups in San Francisco. So we knew things weren't going like we wanted to, and we thought 500 startup, we would get some advice, some push, some change in the way we were doing things. And we learned a lot from the experience, but where we went wrong is that we believed that we could approach US investors to fund us and come back to Lebanon and continue working with more funds. It turns out that no US investor will ever invest in a startup that is not like 2-3 blocks away from him, let alone in the Middle East. The last fuck-up, which I'm still paying for until today, like literally, was it has to do with a kiffalat loan. Exactly. So we took on a kiffalat loan to have more runway before we can actually be launched with this insurance company here. As soon as they cut the deal or stopped the deal, we found ourselves with no funds to pay back the loan. And we're still working until today to settle that with the bank. Now, it's fine, we're good. It's not a big amount, so it's fine. So from all of these fuck-ups, yes, we failed on building this health, doctor and patient platform, but we learned a lot. And I actually got my job today at this consulting firm because one of the investors was the general manager of this consulting firm. And when he saw that things weren't working out, he hired me. And I'm very happy at my job. And I can see the level of competence between me and some of my peers because I went through that experience. So you have a lot of people who spent 10 years in consulting and they lack a lot of this side that you learn from a startup where you have to wear every day different hats and you also touch base on a lot of different sections in a business. So we worked on legal, we worked on finance, we worked on investments, we worked on healthcare, we worked on tech. So this entire spectrum of skills that you learn in a startup, you cannot ever acquire it anywhere else, and I'm very convinced of that. It's a series of unfortunate stuff. That's why I turned out to be fortunate. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Paul. We'll take some questions. I start while you warm up and you decide about your questions. Paul, was there a point, and when you look back, was there a point that now you wish that you decided to give up back then and not waste more time? Or do you think it just happened gracefully and it was meant to end at one point eventually?
So yes, there were several times where I thought, okay, I have to pull the plug, and I didn't, because I refused to fail, and I wanted to give it my best to be actually to accomplish something and make ETO work. But when I actually pulled the plug, it was because I was literally burnt out. So I had spent at least 6 months where every day I'm waking up very tired. I couldn't even talk to people. I was depressed. My sister actually called. Had completely depressionista. So it was very bad at some point where I literally had to pull the plug because I had no other way. Like I couldn't do otherwise back then. So you just know when you need to pull the plug.
Marat, we're too scared to just pull the plug, and we think that we didn't do enough, so we just try to keep doing.
Yeah, that
you can keep digging yourself in.
Exactly. It's happened for a long time.
Guys, any questions to Paul?
Would you start the startup again?
The same field, same
No, not
startup?
the same field, just a different
Like right now, or if I go back and do what I
No.
do again?
From now to
I would definitely start a startup again, but I would do it like a lot differently. And I would make sure about a lot of things before I actually jump into it.
Was it your first startup?
Yeah. I was 22 years old.
Yes, yes.
What's the lifespan on the startup? How long did it take you to start off and then finish it?
It took, I worked on it for around 4 years and a half, 5 years. And to actually close it, we're still in the
That's why
process.
I was asking you this. Like, you close it now, is it offline now? You're going to find it, or you're going to go online?
No, we're not working on it.
But it's still online.
Yeah, it's still online. Like we have a Facebook page and all of that. We didn't even pay for the
For the
servers
domain?
and the domains, yeah.
It's inactive since 2016.
It's inactive.
Any questions?
It's been like a couple of years ourselves.
Well, I just want, and while you were speaking, I just went and checked on it. So I love the idea, but I think maybe there was something wrong in the marketing process or in the. So I believe, you shouldn't. Maybe you know better, but maybe you shouldn't surrender on this and try to reactivate it, because this is the future of. We're living in a phase where you can have RoboDoc at any time. You can call or connect to the internet and talk to your doctor, to your RoboDoctor. So maybe with the AI, with what's going on now, it can be reactivated in a way or another. So it's really, I thank you for sharing this experience. But I believe that you can.
Thank you, thank you. So basically when this insurance company pulled out, I could still go back and pitch to other insurance companies, and I could have actually tried to make it work. I was at a time, like someone now said, I wasn't passionate about the idea, that's one. And two, I was at a time where I was burnt out. Even right now, if I think about, okay, let me go back and work on YouTube and try to make it succeed now, I might be able to. But I'm not passionate about the idea, and I refuse to waste any more years on something I'm not passionate about.
Recruit people who are passionate.
It's not easy, but it's not easy.
Just close alone and take it.
Do we have any? We have time for one more question.
So did your other three co-founders stay with you to the end, or you?
So some of them left earlier, some of them, like, 3 of us stayed until the end, until we just sat together and decided, okay, that was the time to pull the plug. Plus, there were some developments in the life of each one of us, so it was a natural cut, basically. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you for your time. Your many fuck-ups. Okay, next we will have on stage, or virtual stage here, Issam Hashim, CEO of co-founder and CEO of Takween Digital, a digital solutions provider for businesses. Well,
Custom-made solutions.
Custom-made solutions, yeah.
My favorite place to be, we call it a mall because now is the tendency to be in a closed environment is to be in this kind of places. I do cave explorations. My activity is to understand and study the water systems underground of Lebanon, and at the same time trying to create new projects, ecological projects underground, studying, doing surveys, and in some cases also taking very nice scenery, because it's a very nice hidden places that we already have and we should try to protect. And in some cases we have some creatures that they fell in and stay alive in spare times. My favorite 5-star hotel, I think you can bet, is this my hammock, because you can hang it everywhere if you want, under the stars, the trees. This is the perfect place to be, and a temperature under 0, so now I'm feeling so warm. Garden, as you say, we are everyone now aware of the garbage situations, so we should have a kind of green scenery for us to survive better, or my balconies. And at the same time, looking at the moon is one of the things that you should do at least one time, because you can see a lot of details that you cannot see by our own eyes, and at the same time spending some time watching contemporary dance scenes. It's kind of relieving. I'm going to show you just a little bit what is contemporary dance. It was a long day. I'm not going to play it all of it, but it's a place where you can really get out of your mind and think everything else about your day or the week or the month or what's happening, the issues, collecting money or collecting clients and so on. So it's a relief time, and especially my favorite PS4, Xbox games, these. Crafting, doing anything not related to technology at the same time, but trying at a certain time mixing wood and electricity. So don't ask me why. Early work experience, as I was saying, I used to be the director of information and technology in a TV station. I didn't start this position. I grew up from the simple, normal employee to reach integrating different systems, how to automate the systems from the archiving system, the production, to publish to YouTube. It was the beginning of Facebook and the early days of social media, and everything should be online before the TV, but it was a very heavy, tough work. At the same time, I was also in the IT world, so mixing the router and the connectivity of the network, it was a major part. And the multimedia part to analyze, do the insights, see what's happening. If you pay money, you get more view because Facebook, this is their business, and so on. And here it comes the new adventure in my life when I've created with my colleague Takween. And Takween Digital is the word in Arabic, and the guys behind us also. This is a picture from one of my clients. Takween is a recreation of La Regenerescence. And our company is named Takween.digital, which is our website also. Still not updated. But since we are here since late 2015, legally 2016, when we have established the company and we said, okay, we have the idea to develop the digital solutions, but at the same time, we have our own ideas. Let's hit the road with our own ideas. So we started with the first idea, which was Kalaman, an online tutoring services, and we gave the tool for teachers and students to get connected, not to commute and to waste time on the streets, but you can get your teacher online, help you to in your courses. I'm talking for couples, not really actual university students. And I'm going to show you a small part from my presentation and tell me if it's different from now. The product's very simple. 3 steps. Register, choose the brand, pay for it, and log into your virtual home. Actually, I don't know the case. It's an ICP product. It's a most popular product. And this is the board where you can connect and look. So the result from this presentation, we presented this product in Grow My Business Bank Audi competition 2016. From 100 ideas presented, we were the last 5 selected, and unfortunately it was failed. Why it was failed? The operation cost was so heavy on us to put in place the application, to put all the marketing and all the operations of this platform. It was so expensive that we couldn't handle it. And at the same time, one of the judges, he was saying, you know, if you're going to stay 5 years to reach your fixed 6 figures, let it go. It's worthless. It's waste of time, and waste of energy. So we said, okay, we turned the page. Takwin Digital is still here. We had some clients. We focus on developing some easy tasks to development and to pay our fixed charges, kind of. So we said at the same time, next, okay, there's a new tendency, 2016, 17, augmented reality, virtual reality, let's hit the road. Yalla. New adventure, new solution from the augmented reality. For example, you can scan our business card, you can get these buttons in 3D world. We try to create a platform to be your own creator of augmented reality content. Same thing. We had not a competition, but business angels telling us, what is the added value of the platform? What is your business model out of it? How are you going to make money out of it? So it was very hard to get in place the solution, and it was another failed. Sorry for the sound effects. And so we said, okay, being an entrepreneur is always finding a solution. Failing is not an issue, it's always trying to get the best of your failure. So what we said, we learned how to code in augmented reality, we understood the virtual reality, what is behind it. From the online tutoring service, we learned how to make real-time coding also. And when I say we, it's always the coding part, the team, my associate who's hiding still down there. And so we said, okay, let's focus more. So I'm going to ask you, do you know what is this guy? Yes. Anyone? Exactly. Muhammad ibn Musa al-Khwarizmi, which is the original of algorithm. Algorithm is the coding sector. This guy, he survived. He lived from 780 to 150 AD. So he was the beginning, and he was also practiced mathematics, astronomy, and geology. And he was appointed also the head of the library of the wisdom of Baghdad. I don't know if you know this place, House of Wisdom, Beit al-Hikmah, which was the most important library back then in the Mesopotamian area.
So a big fire later on.
Exactly, similar to Alexandria's library. So our algorithm, what is algorithm? What is our Al-Khwarizmi did? A part of the algorithm is when you have a certain kind of a criteria, teases, or answer, or a signal, that you have an input signal, and then you have decisions to make. Where I go, where should I go, what is the flow of information, how it goes. And every solution that you use, every application or video that you're playing or a button that you're pressing, it will go through kind of this behavior until the end you get a result or you exit the application. But this is only visual. If we go a little bit more deeper, you start seeing the booleans and the conditions, and if I have an interval of information, you get deeper and deeper in coding. And then we said, okay, let's transform our experience from coding skills to sell codes. Okay, to sell codes, and at the end, this is what we have done. We have created our own kind of a workflow to create a user experience. Now you hear it a lot, and trying to build different solutions with different ideas for different sectors, and trying at the same time using the same infrastructure, which is the code that you have already built from it. And eventually, these codes look like this. Any kind of application, WhatsApp or anything else, this is the code. And this is another example of coding the information. More complicated, and sometimes I'm asking the team, شو هو اللي عم شو عم نحكي؟ Donc علموني هيدا أكثر. And at the end, you transform the code into interfaces, and these are the interfaces of our clients from our major projects. And mobile application also, mobile platforms. Finally, to finish in the minute remaining, to grow and to be as big as this cedar, you have to start that small.
Thank you, Hassan. Do you have any questions? questions for Isam? Questions, guys? I'll ask you a question. How often?
Yes.
How often did you need someone to make you realize that you're fucking up? You know, sometimes we are in it, we just don't realize that we are.
I can bounce a little bit on the presentation from before. Is when you reach this burnout, you don't have any more answers, and you're saying the wall, but you're trying not to hit it. But sometimes it's very late. The brakes, you have wet ground, so you will hit it very fast.
And did your experiences teach you to like realize red flags earlier than you had before?
No, I don't think, because when you're starting your own company, you need to advance and you need to break the wall and even continue it. And in doing this, always we should as entrepreneurs to keep a single thing in our head, never to regret a thing. So from every competition, every communication, every meeting that we did, we learned something, even if it was a door closed on our face. We learned how to tackle a new door or a new wall.
Or a new laptop.
Or to be always prepared to test your solutions.
Thank you, Isam. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Question.
Oh, yeah. Do we have questions? Oh, okay.
She first.
No, I'm just pointing
She's
out.
pointing at you.
No, that's my next. So you are an entrepreneur, but when can an employee leave their job and start a startup? When is the best time? When they should say, you know, I'm leaving, I'm gonna build my own company?
Honestly, on the shower.
There's like some insecurities, you know, money.
It's a decision to make. It's a decision to make. Depending, you should accept the fact that you cannot get whatever you want. So you have to work to get it. So either you don't have the security that you have, but you should accept it that you don't have any security. You should live at your parents' place, or your wife should base on you, your dinners and your money, your living life. But at the same time, you should expect and accept that you're going to make it better later. And it will come. You should always, either you get an investor, or you get the money, or you get a better position for another job. So there's always a good positive feedback from trying, at least. If you don't try, it was on the slides, and at least try it. This is the thing you can do it. You can do it in parallel to your work as a security. Yes.
Thank you. Any more questions? No? Thank you. Thank you. Okay. You think he is tech support here, but no. He's our next speaker. But that's what great entrepreneurs do. They're always here to help fellow entrepreneurs when they need. So Walid Wannous is our next speaker. He is a co-founder and the director of production at Cohen. The floor is yours.
So hello everyone, and welcome to our office. This is our working space here. We've been hosted by the wonderful guys at Foundersbei for a few months now. I'm multidisciplinary. I'm a UI UX expert. I'm in love with technology. I'm a teacher at university. I didn't actually start a startup because there was no word as startup when I started. I started in 1998. I was still in my last school days, and me and my mate, we started a web design company. Okay, so before that, let's go back 3 years before this. I received as a gift my first Pentium. You know what Pentium is? There's a lot of people who don't know what Pentium is. I feel so old now. A Pentium is one of the first processors. It's a PC with a big screen, the big screen, the projection screen. So as soon as I started using the PC, I felt a certain connection with the PC. I felt that I could learn any software I could touch. I had a very big curiosity using the PC, etc. So I started using, there was something called CorelDRAW. I'm not sure if you know CorelDRAW. It was the Photoshop back then. Okay, so I started using CorelDRAW, and then I started making logos, etc. I was still at school, I was 15 years old. And I started making some work for my parents' friends, etc. And I started making some money from this. Then, when, as I said, when I was at the last year of school, the modems, you know, the modems that make that sound, okay, were now available. And I was introduced to the world of the internet, and Yahoo was the top player over there, and it was a revelation for me. The whole world was in front of my eyes, and I could search for anything, find anything, and do anything I wanted on the internet. A bit later, there was something like Shopify, etc. It was called Angel Fire. I'm not sure if you know the tool. Angel Fire was a tool that lets you create your own websites. And I was a member of the Scouts, so I wanted a tool that would make everyone communicate on the same level, because we were like 500 students all in the Scouts, etc. So I needed a way to make them all communicate together. So I created the first website. My first website was made on FrontPage. It was a Microsoft tool. It's all very old tools. Exactly. Messenger wasn't there yet. Okay, so I created the first website. And then after creating this first website, here I began my first startup. Of course, we didn't know it was a startup. We never heard of the word startup, entrepreneur, investors, any of these. We started something called Aldukan, aldukan.com. Okay, Aldukan used to do, I guess it was the first e-commerce website in Lebanon. Aldukan used to sell everything Lebanese to the world. Okay, so when we did Aldukan, there was no payment gateway. We worked with NetCommerce. We were maybe the first to work with NetCommerce to do a payment gateway, etc. We worked with DHL. We started the first integration with the shipping company, etc. And we did Aldukan. Now Aldukan lasted for 5 years, and it was doing very well. And we were making good money from it. But we fucked up somewhere, and we didn't know how to take it to the next level. So all we did was having this website, selling stuff to the outer world. It was only selling Lebanese goods. We didn't think of selling something else, or maybe something to the Lebanese market, etc. Because no one used the websites to buy online. No one had the credit cards, etc. So in 5 years later, it was very common to have in every country small shops that sells Lebanese goods. And it wasn't very popular anymore, because shipping like Rghif Khubz from here to the United States costs like $12, and they could buy it from there now. Okay, so this was our first fuck up. We didn't know how to take it to the next level, and time passed by, and we were a bit static. So actually, from the 20 years that I have been in the business, I can't say I failed. I can't say I had any failures, but I can tell you I tripped, I fucked up, I messed up, and then I got up again. So failure is a milestone on your way to success, and we all know this. After Aldukan, we resurrected because we had no choice. We had got used to be our own bosses, and we were still at the university, and we couldn't get a job, so we got used to having our own money, so we couldn't stop here and go back to taking money from our parents, etc. Okay, so one thing that helped us go to the next level without failing, we learned two things, and we were using it while we were at Aldukan. We invested in our personal knowledge, not only in the company. So we all considered that one day our business might transform, might change, but everything we learn will be still ours. And we always collected ideas and future directions we might take if it fails. So one very important thing whenever you have a startup is to expect failure. Expect failure and expect what to do back then when it's going to fail. And And these will be your joker cards. Then we took all this knowledge, and the market was a bit more mature to start creating e-commerce websites for clients. E-commerce websites, anything that is digital. So we started creating e-commerce websites for FNF, for any partner that was working with us when we were at Al-Dukan. FNF, Najjar, Dwayhe, etc. We started creating their own e-commerce websites. So at this level, we did not fail, we transformed. And I think this is the power of the entrepreneur, to know how to transform. So we started creating this company that was called Quain. It is still called Quain. Okay, and at this time, there was something that was created that changed the internet or the web design world. It was Flash, Adobe Flash. If you remember, it was Macromedia Flash. Okay, so Macromedia Flash was an animation tool that was very easy to use, and it made things much easier for us, and it was very profitable as one developer or one person or one web designer, as it was called, could make the whole website by his own. So we stopped making e-commerce websites. We moved into designing websites that were animated, etc., etc. And we had a team of around 25 developers that made Flash websites. We used to do them for the Lebanese market, for KSA, for UAE, etc. But then again, someone called Steve Jobs, I guess you know him, did something with the iPhone, and they didn't include the Flash plugin in the iPhones. And suddenly, when Steve said that Flash is not good, Flash wasn't good for anyone. Even our clients who had websites, they were no more happy with them. They wanted something else. They wanted HTML, they wanted CSS, they wanted something else. Something that does not move. Even though they always requested more animation, now they don't want it to move. Anyway, they wanted to open on mobiles, and this was the trend. And here again, we had to transform. So it was very difficult for us, instead of failing here, it was very difficult for us to let go like 25 developers, because they couldn't transform. It was very hard to transform from animation, and they were much more design-oriented to programming languages, .NET, etc. So we had to give up our whole developers team and get new developers, and this was very hard for us to do. So I'm gonna move faster because it's a long story. It's 20 years. So then after doing this, we noticed one thing: we always have to have many parallel business running. I had this opportunity to have two partners with me, my brother and my friend, and we could open like more than one company or more than one track, and have each follow on one of them, but at the same time keep them all in sync. This is how we invented our branding agency. At this time, the branding world was very trendy, and graphic design transformed into branding, and branding was a whole new world. So we created Kite Creative, which is also our company, which does branding. So it's a still running company in parallel to Quain. I'm gonna skip. So now we are in Quain, and as I told you, the most important thing in a startup or in any business is to adapt. And now I've learned to adapt without coming to the point where we need to fail and transform. So we started adapting. Now in Quain, we know very well that the digital world is transforming once again. And people could get a website or a template and go to Shopify and create their own website. And doing something custom is not more of interest for everyone because it costs a lot, etc. So we are transforming into products. We're transforming all our services into products. Now you can come to us, take a product which is SaaS-based, and we can customize it for you, or we can go to your business and transform your whole business into a digital platform for letting go anything, for going paperless, etc. So adapting is something that we have learned hard in 20 years, and we think this is the way to go for any startup. Instead of failing, you should adapt, you should every like a month or 2 months or 3 months, discuss your previous months and then adapt and change so you can keep up, especially in the world of technology. That's it. My time is up. Fuck up, but expect and be ready when it happens in order to transform or keep it going. Thank you.
Thank you, Walid. Questions to Walid? Yeah,
So, when you said you closed your e-commerce shop,
yes.
You said it was a fuck up closing it because you could have been now souk and that's what
We could have been. This is why I said we didn't know how to transform it, and we didn't have the advice. Now, having like mentors, etc., in the startup world as it is right now, it's a bit of a pressure. But I'm pretty sure if we had this advice back then, we'd have succeeded in making it like Souk or any other website.
Are you looking for employees?
I'm always looking for good guys. Yes. You can come and visit us. We're here. Now you know.
Any other questions?
Are you ready for any upcoming fuck-ups?
Ready? We hope so. We hope so.
I mean, did you learn to?
You can never be ready.
I mean, starting from your experience, can you develop like a certain exit strategy or something like emergency plan when things like that happen? What if? Do you have this what if always?
As I said, we always have this what if. Now we have this what if because we have been into so many phases and we know how the world is transforming. And often it's not because you didn't do a good job. It's because the world is transforming, especially in technology. You can go like create a wonderful idea, and then as another startup comes up and puts more money than you have got as funds, and you will be gone. You will disappear. So you always have to have some, as I showed, some jokers in your pocket to always play your cards again, or to always have a way to say, okay, if this didn't work, okay, I can transform it and go another way.
What did you study?
And I studied graphic design, but I had opened my company, so I didn't have time to study. So yeah, I only graduated, but no, I was very good at design back then. I used to go and just give my projects back, and as the teachers came to know me, first they thought I was stealing the projects or having someone helping me, etc. When they came to know me and know the company, I know I have a company, etc., they had no problem for me just to come and present my projects.
Which university?
I was at AUT.
Any other questions? So I have a question. You're doing everything right, and you're doing your best. You think you're taking all the right decision, and you suddenly get fucked up by someone else, Steve Jobs. Okay? How does that feel compared to getting fucked up by your own mistakes? And when you were doing everything right, and then an external factor just like bam.
Okay, this happens to me. I'm pretty sure that it happens to many other people, and there should be a way out. So it's easier. You don't hit on yourself. This is why it is easy.
Thank you. Any last question? Okay, thank you, Ali.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so before we go to the pizza, we'll have a little bit of a chat. Are you hungry, guys? Yeah, you're here for the pizza, I know. My biggest fuck up is the first actual startup that I tried to make. But what's more important is why was it a fuck up? And I think this is a very common mistake that many entrepreneurs do, is that they invest, and I invested a lot of time, effort, and money in the wrong places and in the wrong things. My priorities were messed up. It was my first business. So when you're starting your first business, and I want to print business cards and t-shirts, and I want to have a website in 10 languages. I actually wanted 10 languages on my website, which no one was visiting. So I wanted to buy a domain name and I bought it for $1,000. Who pays $1,000 for a domain name? But I want that domain name. Okay, so I invested a lot of money and time and effort in the wrong places, in things that do not really matter. And I learned along the way that what actually matters is just getting at least one person to pay you $1. That's what matters. I ended up spending like $20,000 over the course of 2 years, and not like on silly stuff, okay? That was on my project, which was called the Dream Matcher. But what was driving me back then was not the actual website. The concept was that I wanted people to post their dreams, and I wanted to develop some sort of an artificial intelligence that connects you with people who have the potential of making that dream come true. Okay, so if your dream is to like visit a 5-star kitchen at a 5-star hotel and see how things work, it'll match you with someone who works at a 5-star hotel, whatever. Okay? But what was driving me was the mission behind it. I wanted to build something that helps people make their dreams come true. So I ended up pivoting it from an online thing to an actual event. So just like FuckUp Nights, it's a branded event. I license it. People do it around the world, and it's just a networking event where people write their dreams and meet other people who can make their dreams come true. And I did more than 60 of those. Okay, but that all happened because what was driving me was not the actual website, was the mission behind it, and I wanted to do it. I found a different way, which actually made money. People paid for it, and it worked. Alhamdulillah.
It's like the project, like people do like bucket list, have things to do before.
It's sort of anything that the concept was that anything you want to do, whether it's finding a tennis partner or whether it's meeting a celebrity. The concept was building a system that would actively, like the system would actively push to you suggestions of people who can make that dream come true. So it wasn't like a list that you would go and search.
Did you put your own dream on that website?
I did put like 3 or 4 dreams. We had a few users, but it didn't work. So enough with my fuck-ups. There's a reason you have these things here. So your biggest what?
I gave you one too.
Yeah, I just said it vocally. I mean, no one's gonna come and read it. Yeah, I just read yours. So your biggest fuck-up is being an architect? La, every joke is like at least 90% true. Come on. You need to admit it to yourself. Is it really a joke? Really? Like really? Okay, so what's your real fuck-up? So you thought it's like, hey. So what do we have fuck-ups here? So you're really bad at it? No, you're good. You're just I'm
trying.
Good. So what else? What do we have? Student loan? Where? Home Lebanon? Lebanon?
No, unfortunately.
When? America? How are you dealing with it?
Pretty hard. Just like the guys.
Okay, so anyone would like to share an in-depth story about their biggest fuck-up? Does anyone need like fuck-up therapy? Does someone feel like they're in the middle of something right now and they need help? Yalla, tell the story to people. Maybe we can help you get out of that.
Okay, so I think that my greatest mess up was choosing the wrong master's degree.
So you chose the wrong master's degree.
So I actually did my master's in theoretical linguistics and comparative philology at Oxford. Exactly. I think that answers why it's a mess up. It's that I chose something that's like extremely theoretical, and it's not very, you can't really sell it much in Lebanon, I would say. And I really wish I had majored in something more practical, or at least even if I had majored in like applied linguistics as opposed to semantics and pragmatics and things that are just too esoteric for my own good. It would have been great, and right now I'm suffering because it took me a while to get into the field that I'm actually interested in at the practical level, which is education. And I don't know if you guys have any advice for how to sell a master's degree, because I did do well in school, but I feel like here it's just like people are so bogged down on whether or not you actually studied the content, which I think is dumb, because you could have the skills more than someone who has a PhD in education but got it from like a crappy school, no offense, a crappy school, or just doesn't care or is not passionate or whatever. So I think it's more about the skills that you develop throughout your academic career rather than the content that you learned, because you're going to forget what you learned anyways, I think. And I'm saying that as a...
Why did this choice of masters seem, I mean, you did it, so at one point that seemed to be the right thing to do, right?
It was just one of the
most difficult
things I could think. No, I'm just kidding.
So why at that point it seemed to you that that's the right thing?
Well, so I specialized in sociolinguistics and pragmatics. I'm very interested in language and context. And so I thought that was super interesting. I still think it's very interesting. But I was 20 years old, so I didn't know that you should think of employability afterwards. I'm working, I have a very good job. I work for the UN now, just so that you don't all think I'm like desperate and gloomy or whatever. I'm happy.
But you feel that you wasted your...
I just think that I wasted some time. I could have just easily gotten into the field as opposed to wasting a few years of like trying to get my foot in the door. That's all I'm saying. Well, so if I could go back in time, I would have just, it's more of a resentment for 3 years of trying to get my foot in the door.
Any advice to make her feel less guilty about what
exactly.
she did?
That's exactly what it is. It's remorse. That's what the feeling is. It's remorse. It's not, I'm happy, I have a good job, but it's more like I wasted potential for 3 years.
I think you should start a Facebook page where you can share your experience in this field. In this way, if there's any student who's willing to do this master's, they'll go search and hit your page and they'll ask you, and you can share your experience with them, and then you avoid maybe they will avoid a fuck up.
Go to Instagram and make it dramatic.
I don't have an Instagram and I don't like drama, so we're good there.
See, my advice would be maybe learn or do something that would not be directly related to what you did, but what you did in school, in your master's, would benefit them.
Yeah.
Because in today's world, like hybrid, like hybrid specializations are what makes a person unique. And even when it comes to the startup world, I won't claim that I understand what your major is, as I heard linguistics. So even in the technology world, the whole artificial intelligence with natural language analysis.
But that, my friend, is where I messed up, because I told you that even within theoretical linguistics, I chose pragmatics instead of computational linguistics. So my friends who did computational linguistics are now like swimming in
one day an opportunity will arise and you will be the right person because of that background.
So if you guys want me to analyze how men and women speak, I'm your girl. Like, I will analyze your linguistic patterns. So that's if you need someone for that. But it's just...
You go right.
So do we have any other stories or fuck-up therapy needed? All good? Well, thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for listening. We definitely would like to invite you across the building.
I just want to thank quickly the people who work on this.
Thank them.
I want to thank Elias and Foundersbei team. I want to thank British Shaman team, Nadim again, and I would like to thank Edge and tell her goodbye. This is her last basically day in Lebanon and last event. Ece, she's half German, half Turkish, and she's our intern. So without these people, this didn't happen. And I also would like to say thank you to the team who made this great poster, like Nadim being in his swimming suit, and everyone being suited up. I think this poster made the hit for this event. And yalla, pizza time.